Well, hello everyone. Megan Hansen here from Cash Street Technology. Today we are joined by Ashley McIntyre, who will be speaking on the role of nutrition in business. Ashley was a guest speaker at our Couples Health and Wealth Retreat a few weeks ago in Sarasota, Florida. It was amazing to be able to meet you there. Ashley was a pharmaceutical rep who turned that experience into a passion for health and wellness. So let's give Ashley a warm welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. Again, this is exciting. I'm excited to share with you some of my principles around foundation basics and nutrition basics that you can put into place today, and an opportunity to work with me at the end as well. So let me share my screen. So my tagline really is, we have to nourish in order to flourish. In order for you to heal your chronic condition, whether it's having high cholesterol or managing chronic headaches or whatever it is, or whether your goal is weight management, we have to first nourish ourselves in order to feel better in whatever aspect we're wanting to do that in. So I am a holistic health coach and I'm a nutrition expert. I got my master's in clinical nutrition and I am at the very end of my clinical hours right now working with clients. My company is called The Elevated Plate. And today I'm really going to dive into how diet relates to immunity and, more important, our gut health. So this is the objectives, kind of going over what we're going to accomplish together today, what an elevated plate looks like, why I called my company that, and I think it's so important. Two main pillars of health being gut health and balancing our blood sugar, what nutrients we need for immunity, protein requirements, which is always like a buzzword. I feel like people are always asking me for that. So I'll share my recommendations with you based upon science-backed information. Immunity and how that relates to gut health and our microbiome, what pre and probiotics are, and how we maintain a healthy microbiome as well. And what role does a Mediterranean diet play in doing that? And then, of course, balancing your blood sugar at the end. I do have a program to share with you. So this is what I call the elevated plate. The left is really very nitty gritty. If you were going to plate breakfast, lunch, and dinner every single day, what it would look like. Half of your plate being your non-starchy fruits and vegetables, which would be like broccoli, peppers, leafy greens. And then the other half of your plate, a quarter of it being like protein. So whether that's animal-based or plant-based, with tofu or salmon, having your whole grains and starches like your beans and potatoes and quinoa, and then healthy fats. So fats are really important too. So olive oil, avocados, nuts. So that's ideally if you were going to plate every single meal that you ate, what from a nutritional background and a science-based background, what you would want it to look like. That's also not super realistic or convenient. And I know we aren't all able to sit down and eat like that at every single meal. So I have kind of dwindled it down to what I call the critical four. So it makes it really simple when you're ordering food or just throwing something together for breakfast, to focus on fat, fiber, protein, and then color. And the reason that I dwindled it down to those is when you eat that way and you combine fats, fibers, and protein in every single meal, it really balances our blood sugar. And we'll talk about the importance of that at the end. But it also is what has been proven to be important for health and longevity. And when you eat those, you're going to be satiated. You're not going to have like these spikes and valleys in your blood sugar. So you're not going to be, wanting to eat again an hour later. You're going to be full. And by no means do I recommend like a no or a completely low carb diet. Just in our Western civilization, we tend to get plenty of carbohydrates. So these are the ones that I suggest to focus on. So that's my tips for elevating your plate, like in general. And, a lot of people talk about like immune system. How can we eat in order to support our immunity? And these are really the top nutrients that are really needed in order to be healthy, and to have longevity. And this is it's kind of a laundry list right here. And this is why I do suggest that my clients take a multivitamin, because I call it like an insurance policy for when we don't eat perfectly. Because even if you were to, eat the same foods every day, that's not what is supportive of health. And we'll talk more about the microbiome and why diversity is important later. But, a multivitamin is just a great security. Also, micronutrients in our foods have really changed drastically over the last 100 years. Plants and vegetables and fruits being shipped from across the country or from other countries, and our soil quality is not what it used to be either. So we're not getting as many nutrients out of broccoli today as we did 100 years ago. So again, the reason why, supplementing with fruits supplementing with a multivitamin can be important. I'm going to call out two things that I think are really important in terms of these nutrients is, again, protein. And we're going to dive into how much next, but you need to have protein on board for so many different things, and immunity is just one of them. And then again, at the very end, if you'll see overnutrition. So if we are constantly overeating, we're killing our immune system, or we're not allowing it to thrive. So we want to make sure that we're not only eating appropriate foods, but eating appropriate amounts of foods as well, and listening to our hunger cues and using mindful eating as we're doing that. So protein, I feel like it's such a buzzword, and I always like to just kind of talk about it, because some people, I worked with a client the other day and he said, well, I should be eating 300 grams of protein daily. And I don't even know where that number came from, because that's insanely high. While protein's important, we don't want to overdo it, because again, overnutrition is just that's not needed. But there is evidence from trials showing that higher protein intakes are associated with greater muscle mass. And what I think is more important is better muscle functioning as we age. So we want to make sure we're getting enough. So the RDA is your recommended daily allowance, and it basically says minimum is 0.8 grams per kilogram. So that's about 0.4 grams per pound. That's just for like basic functioning. And I don't think any of us here are basic. I think we want to be optimal. So in order to be optimal, we want to be more, the evidence shows around 1.2 to 1.6 grams per kilogram, which is about 0.55 to 0.73 grams per pound. So you can do it based upon your weight, because again, we're all different heights and sizes. So it's very individualized. I will make a special call out to leucine because it does need extra attention. It's an amino acid that's in, most of your proteins, and it stimulates skeletal muscle anabolism, which just basically means it helps our muscles grow and stay strong. So those are just some sources that have high amounts of leucine in them. Now, the caution I will make is if you have any sort of kidney disease, you would need to work with a healthcare professional like myself to modify those protein amounts, because they would be less for you. All right, so diving into our microbiome and how we're going to tie this all together with immunity. So what is a microbiome? It is in our GI tract, our gastrointestinal tract. It's simply the good and the bad bacteria that live in our system. So there's about 500 species of bacteria and about 100 trillion bugs altogether. So we're talking about a whole, village or colony of bugs that live in our gut, and we can modify those through lifestyle and definitely through diet to make positive or negative changes. So foods influence them. Beneficial gut bacteria are synthesized by certain vitamins. They help with digestion and balancing our mood. They can reduce anxiety and protect from infections, talking about immunity and some forms of cancer even. Strains of good bacteria in the gut are associated with lower rates of obesity, diabetes, and various GI diseases. So when we alter the composition of our microbiome through food and lifestyle, we are the host. The host is also altered. So we can do that. We can cause inflammation or reduce it. We can improve our immunity, our metabolism, and like our body's homeostasis. So diversity here is key, and the two main bacteria that live there are lactobacilli and bifidobacterium. And I'll make a special call out to probiotics because I get a lot of questions around it, and a lot of clients I will, see they'll say, "Oh, but I'm taking a probiotic." Like I said, diversity is key. So we don't want to keep taking the same thing over and over. Probiotics are not negative. They are beneficial to human health and to the health of our microbiome, but diversity is key. And also, I usually don't recommend a probiotic unless there's a specific health issue. So there's a certain strains of probiotic that have been shown to be beneficial for cholesterol, but there are different strains that are beneficial for diabetes. So it's going to be different based upon the different person, and it's gonna be very unique. I would never just, blanket and give everyone the same probiotics. So it would be working with a healthcare professional that can make those suggestions and make sure that we're also changing those up because we want diversity. So how does this tie into immunity? Over 70% of our immune system resides in our gut. So, the scientific literature really shows that the most defining factor that shapes the gut again is our food. And, and by doing that, we affect our immune system. So diet can promote good bacteria supporting the immune system or destroying it, creating inflammation. So we want to do that by eating the right foods to support our the little bugs that are in our bacteria that are in our colon. So we do that with probiotics and prebiotics. So a quick definition, your probiotics are really those foods that don't get broken down when we eat them. They don't get digested. They go to our colon and those are the bugs. So the probiotics are the bugs, the bacteria, and the prebiotics are what feed them. So if you're looking just to up your overall health, up your immune system, reduce inflammation, eating various different foods on this list, some from the prebiotic and some from the probiotic, maybe at least one serving a day of something is what's going to make that positive change and is more beneficial than taking the same probiotic for like years on end. Because when we vary it, again, we're getting that diversity. So a lot of the probiotics are fermented foods, like fermented vegetables would be like pickles or kombucha. Just be a little careful of the sugar that's in the kombucha, the amount of sugar. Even like plain yogurt or kimchi are great options. And then prebiotics is a lot of fruits and vegetables, even legumes. Bananas, asparagus will be your prebiotics there. So how do we maintain a healthy microbiome? Like I said, just by eating those foods is wonderful. Hydrating daily, and consuming a lot of fiber-rich foods. So again, that was part of the critical four that I talked about at the beginning. We want to get at least 30 grams of fiber a day. What I will say is if the average American eats about 14 grams daily, and 95% of Americans do not get enough fiber. So if you are one of those, which more than likely you are, because around 95% don't eat enough, don't go tomorrow and eat 30 grams of fiber. It's something you're going to want to increase slowly because it will cause GI upset. If you typically only eat 12 or 14 grams and tomorrow you ate 35, it's probably not going to feel that great. So it's something that you want to do, titrate up slowly every few days. Limiting processed foods. So a lot of like the foods that are in boxes versus whole foods, limiting foods high in added sugar. One of the quickest things you can do to eliminate is if you're drinking sugar sweetened beverages every day. Even artificial sweeteners in large quantities are not good, and trans fats. And then if we limit the things that we know we're sensitive to, so if we know when we, consume dairy that it upsets our stomach, that's something that we should avoid. Or if, same with like, if coffee upsets your stomach, you just have to be really mindful again when you're eating and kind of avoid those things that you're sensitive to. And to take antibiotics only when medically necessary. So Western medicine is amazing, and I would never say not to take antibiotics, because if you're sick and you need to take them, that's very important, and your doctor's going to make that decision for you. At the same time, you know, you should take them only when it is necessary and your doctor recommends it, and not be, requesting it all the time, because it will kill all the bacteria, good and bad, in your gut, and you have to basically start over. So just to, use that when it's totally necessary to have. And going back to the food sensitivities, I did just want to make a note. Some of the top food sensitivity foods are corn, dairy, eggs, fish and shellfish, peanuts, soy, tree nuts, and wheat, gluten. So moving on to the Mediterranean diet. Why is this such a popular diet? If you go into any kind of research online website, the one that I typically use the most is called PubMed.com. It's where I did a lot of my research in grad school. And you put in the Mediterranean diet, I believe there's like over 12,000 studies that have been done on it. It's the most researched diet of all times. And it's one that I talk to clients a lot about because it's so adaptable based upon food preferences or sensitivities. Mainly it's a whole foods diet. So you're looking at eating lots of fruits and vegetables, unprocessed whole grains. For fats, you're talking nuts, avocados, and olive oil, which are like really great healthy fats. Proteins, you're focusing on like your legumes and lean poultry and fish. And you're minimizing the things that we've really already talked about. So your sodas and your sweets, processed meats like salami, pepperoni, sausage, red meats, and butter. And notice I say minimize, not eliminate. So it doesn't mean you can never have it. My style is not to totally remove foods. If people really like foods, it's something that's not positive for health, then maybe we just don't have it as often. But I would never say to completely eliminate something unless it's something that you are allergic to or have like a sensitivity to. So the reason I go over the Mediterranean diet while talking about the microbiome is that studies have shown that eating, this Mediterranean way, very whole foods, really increases the abundance of good bacteria in your microbiome. So it's a great diet to eat in order to benefit your microbiome, which is also going to benefit your immunity. And if you want to go down a little bit more of a rabbit hole with the Mediterranean diet, you can look, Netflix has a series called The Blue Zones. Dan Buettner is the one who discovered the blue zones, which are 5 areas in the world that have the most centenarians. Now, centenarian is just someone over 100 years of age, but these centenarians aren't in wheelchairs or, confined to a couch or a bed. These centenarians are still living in their communities and they're still herding sheep and walking around. So that's why they did so much research in these areas. And one of the types of diet styles they found to be promoting of good health is Mediterranean style of eating for longevity. So I put this for questions, and I know there's not a lot of people here, so I will move on. But if you want, I can send some information with Megan and, on specific, smoothie recipes, on snacks, how to create a better bowl if you're like a bowl person and like to throw a bunch of things in. So I have a bunch of like tips that I can send her way and she can pass on. So the other mainstay of health, we've talked a lot about gut health. The other thing that from all my research in terms of a nutrition perspective that is so important for health and longevity is blood sugar and balancing it. A lot of clients I work with think that, oh, I don't have diabetes or, that doesn't run in my family. But in terms of health and longevity, if we're constantly having peaks and valleys in our blood sugar, that's creating inflammation at a cellular level, which can create chronic disease. So I talk a lot about this with clients. I am launching a program on June 10th, if you'd like to join me. It is a 6-module education course. There will be 6 different weekly coaching calls by myself. And I'll record these and send these out for those people that can't attend live. And this includes 4 weeks of a continual glucose monitor. So you can sign up here. Here's the QR code. I would love you to join me. If you're more interested in working with me one-on-one, I am giving a 10% discount to anyone that wants to mention that you watched this video. And I'd love to support your health and help you elevate your plate. And here's my website and my email address and my Instagram at the.elevated.plate. There's a QR code for a free discovery call. So it's a 15-minute call where you can tell me about your goals and make sure we're a good fit to work together. So anything else I'm missing, Megan?
No, I think that's awesome. I loved your presentation a few weeks ago, and this is just reiterates everything that I need to work on. My only question, so I have, and I'm probably a rarity, but I have a sensitivity to avocado. So
That's
what
such
would
a
you?
bummer.
It is a bummer because it's really good. What recommendation do you have for like a substitute for avocado oil?
So normally for somebody that doesn't have a sensitivity, I say olive oil is great, but it's great at lower temperatures. It's great for salad dressings or cooking at low temps, I believe 375 or less.
Okay.
And then I recommend avocado oil when you're cooking at a higher temperature because you want to look at the smoke points of the oils. You don't want the oils to smoke. It means that they are breaking down and oxidizing. And when they do that, they can create inflammation when you eat them. So I would probably recommend, and it would depend if you have cholesterol issues, I probably wouldn't recommend this, but if you didn't, coconut oil could be a good one. I'd have to specifically look at the smoke point, but I do believe it's higher. Or even using butter or ghee could be a good substitute there. And I can do some more research on that for you.
Perfect. Yeah, that's awesome. We use a lot of olive oil, which I know is, not probably the best. But when I left at the couples retreat, I was like, I can't have the avocado, which I know is highly recommended. But so I wanted to personally thank you again for coming out to our couples wealth and health retreat. It was amazing to meet you there. All of our attendees loved having you there. And yeah, certainly send me whatever information you have. I can get it onto our Facebook page as well and onto the YouTube video. And anybody that is interested in signing up with Ashley, this is her information. She's amazing. So thank you again for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. This was great. And feel free to reach out, or if anyone that's listening wants to have nutrition education done with their company, like a Lunch and Learn, I would love to support you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.